Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Mosky here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. As you might be able to tell by my slightly darker complexion and my longer beard, of course, I've not filmed a beer review for you. I think it's about 2 weeks or so now. I've been away in the Netherlands doing some stuff over there, so you will see some Dutch beer reviews appearing over the next little while. But anyway, on to this one. In fact, we're actually going to go to London for this one, and as I've mentioned in previous beer reviews that I've done for you, London is the home to a number of really good little craft breweries that are popping up all over the place. I mean, you've got Kernel, Weird Beard, Beavertown, Camden Town Brewery, and a whole host of others actually that are really opening up down there. But we're going to visit one that I've reviewed for you already, and this is the London Fields Brewery, and this is a beer called Love Not War, which is a red ale coming in at 4.2%. So I've already reviewed one of the beers from these guys before as well, which was the Three Vice Monkeys seasonal beer, and that was beautiful, so I really look forward to reviewing this one for you as well. And as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a brief history of the brewery, very brief with these guys because they're very new, of course. But as always, the brewery website's in the video description there. Like them on Facebook, all the usual things there, and check out the link to my other video review that I've done from these guys as well. And future London Fields reviews will also be found in that list there as time goes on, of course. So to tell you a little bit about the history of this brewery, they were only founded back in August 2011, and so obviously they're fairly new, only just under 3 years old in fact actually. But they're actually inspired by the lack of craft beers in Hackney, which was supposed to be a vibrant cultural centre within London. I've not been down there in a long time. I should maybe go back down and explore with all these little craft breweries down there. But the brewery is actually located under the railway arches next to the oasis of greenery within the smoke, as they call it, and that's known as London Fields itself. But they're one of a number of growing breweries within London who are doing very well. In fact, you can get a lot of these beers in odd bin stores throughout the UK, so go and check them out. They've always got a good selection of local beer from the local area as well. But the aim of the London Fields Brewery is essentially to put Hackney on the map as a destination for great beer. And the brewery themselves actually have a little tap room where you can go and sample all the different beers, and they also serve food and English wines too. And that's another thing that's on the rise in England, is these English sparkling wines. They seem to be getting good exports out of these now. But they also host some live music events at their tap room, and they also run brewery tours and brewing courses as well. So a really exciting little brewery. If you go and visit them, you can obviously see them starting to expand probably quite rapidly now, because the beer they're producing is very good from what I hear and from what I gather from tasting it all, of course. But other brews that they're actually producing just now include the Black Path Porter, the Shoreditch Triangle IPA, the Unfiltered Lager, the Hackney Hopster, which is apparently a Pacific Pale Ale, and they've also got this guy here, the Love Not War, which is a red ale. And as I mentioned to you before, this guy is 4.2%, and as I mentioned also, it was first brewed during the riots in London, of course, and I think that was back in 2011 as well, so obviously just when they were starting to kind of get going with their brewery there. The hop base on this one, we'll get on to the tasting now. The hop base includes Magnum, Dr. Rudy, Summit and Cascade hops, and it's also dry hopped with Amarillo as well. The malt base includes Pale, Cara Red, Melanoidin, Wheat and crystal malts, and it also uses some roasted barley as well in there. So let's just get on to the tasting of this guy. I'll bring up the camera and let you just have a little look at the bottle here. This is one thing, this bottle's got a lot of condensation on it. I wish they wouldn't use the sort of paper labels that they do on these things, because they just get ripped to hell when it comes to taking them out the fridge and stuff like that. So as you can see, it's quite nice artwork. As I say, they really should use these kind of satin sticky labels like the ones Brewdog use. It kind of, as you can see, I kind of ripped it there as I was taking it out the fridge, but you can see there's a little bit of a product description on there, and it just tells you basically what I said. It was brewed during the London riots of 2011, 2012, whenever it was. It's just a blank bottle cap on this one. Hopefully they can actually replace it with this nice cask at some point there, but as I mentioned, it's a 4.2% red ale. So let's get it out and get on with the tasting here. So as you can see, a nice little smoky opening there. We'll get it out into the glass and see how we get on. Oh, bubbling up quite a bit actually. Hopefully it'll calm down just a little bit. Quite annoying when you get that when you're actually trying to review a beer. You get one that just has an absolutely massive head on it here. It smells really nice when you open it up though. Maybe we can just have a little look at the aroma on it so far. As you can see from the colour, I'll go through that actually when it calms down a little bit. Quite annoying when it does that, like I say. But in the aroma here, very fruity. In fact, a lot of tropical fruit in here. There's a sort of underlying kind of caramel and bready character to it as well, but a lot of tropical fruit kind of sitting in the top of this one. You can even get that just off the foam. You don't need to kind of sugar it about really to get that. But definitely a lot of this kind of nice tropical fruit there, and some pine resin, as I say, a nice sort of caramel malty base just in there too. It actually smells really, really nice. Doesn't smell like a conventional red ale, if you like. It smells a lot more kind of like a pale ale kind of brewed with specific fruits, if you like. It really doesn't kind of come across in the aroma as a typical red ale. It's a lot hoppier than that, but that is how they describe it, as a hoppy kind of red ale there. But yeah, like I'm saying on the aroma, very hoppy. There's a little bit of maybe citrusy orange in there as well, I would say, and maybe just a slight little bit of nut character as well. But it's a really attractive smelling beer. Just annoyed that it doesn't seem to be behaving itself in terms of the head here. Maybe I'll just need to kind of dive in and go for it. I think that's what we'll do. If I hold it up to the light here, you can see it's actually a little bit hazy, in fact. Quite hazy there. It's a hazy kind of reddish mahogany colour. There's not really any kind of visible carbonation on it, I would say. Just little big bubbles kind of going up towards the head there. Huge head, as I say. I'm not sure if that's something that occurs during transport, because I've only had 2 beers do that when I've actually been transporting them. So, but yeah, let's go. Let's actually give this guy a proper taste now. Yeah, a very, very hoppy, pardon me, very, very hoppy red ale, as it's described essentially. It opens up with a lot of hop there, and you've got just a nice, pardon me, a nice underlying piney resin of this guy. Fuck it. So, sorry, I just edited the video a little bit there because the pour was as I was trying to film it there, the pour was just going crazy, but I think I've got most of it now. That happens once or twice in about 100 beer reviews. I've only had that happen to me once or twice before. So I'll just edit the video for once. I never normally do, but let's give this guy a taste and see how we get on here. As I said to you before, it's a nice sort of hazy reddish mahogany colour, and the aroma here really was a hell of a lot of hops, if you like. It was a lot of nice citrus and piney resin, tropical fruity kind of hops in there, and a nice bready caramel base to it as well. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on. Yeah, there's a pardon me, a really nice little kind of, a really nice kind of big hoppy and bitter opening to this one. Lots of tropical fruit with pine resin in there too. There's an underlying grassy character as well, I would say, just kind of going from the taste so far. But yeah, it does have some characteristics of a bitter beer actually as well, quite a hoppy bitter beer. So it's almost somewhere in between kind of a bitter and a red ale, if you like. The caramel malt base isn't actually all that sweet as the aroma would kind of lead you to believe. It's almost actually overpowered a little bit by the hops. The hoppy part of the beer is really nice, but the caramel malt base, in my opinion, could be just a little bit sweeter to kind of complement it a little bit more. But yeah, there's a lot of nice, as I'm saying, there's a lot of nice hops in there, a lot of tropical fruit flavours, some nice kind of piney resin kind of adding to the bitter edge of the beer in there, and perhaps as well there is just a little hint of that nice kind of sweet caramel malt base. It could be doing with being a bit more prominent in the beer. They could be doing with chucking a little bit more caramel malt in here maybe, but it's really nice if you want a nice hoppy bitter kind of red ale beer, something a little bit different if you like. And this is one definitely to go for, I would say. And the bitter character on this one really is kind of sticking very well in the finish, in fact. The flavour is actually quite fairly well balanced. It almost is like it's more of a kind of hoppy bitter beer, and it does that quite well. It does have an underlying sort of spicy part to the beer, which is quite interesting. I would say though, if it's to be marketed as a red ale, like I say, I would want to give it a little bit more of a caramel malt to make it that just a little bit sweeter rather than being the kind of sort of spicy base. But overall, very, very nice beer. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would definitely say that this is mid-bodied. It is fairly easy drinking unless the head does what it did earlier on in the video there. But it does have a kind of moderate carbonation. It's slightly bitter on the finish as well, I would say. The bitter character actually comes out gradually more and more as you progress through the beer, and it's slightly dry at the end as well. But overall, it does have a very nice taste, and it's actually well balanced. As I say, the one thing I would say about this beer is that it strikes me as being more of a bitter beer than a red ale. For me, a red ale has to have more of a kind of prominent sweet caramel in this one, whereas this guy, the malt base in it is a little bit more spicy. So to me, this is more like a hoppy bitter than a hoppy red ale, but it's a nice beer nonetheless. You know, it's a very, very nicely done beer. And as I said in my review of the Three Wise Monkeys, that one was a really, really beautiful beer as well. So I wouldn't hesitate to go and visit to go and visit the London Fields Brewery and have a drink of all of these things. Some really, really good beer coming out of this brewery, of course, as well. So definitely go and check them out if you are in the London area. Like I say, this is a really nice beer from the London Fields Brewery. So take the time, go down to Hackney, pardon me, and have a little check out of their beers. As I say, really, really nice beer. So I hope you've enjoyed my beer review. I need to edit this one a little bit because the pour went a little bit crazy. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one. There will be more London craft beer for you to have a little look at in the next little while. And check out my other London Fields review as well. That was a really, really nice beer. I actually prefer that one to this one, but not to say that this is a bad beer by any stretch. It's a very, very nice one. So go and check out the London Fields Brewery. Comment in the section below and let me know your own thoughts on this beer. Always interesting to hear those. And please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I apologise a little bit with the kind of technical difficulties with the beer that we had with this video. Sometimes that happens, sometimes beers explode on you, but that's just life when you do these sort of things. But thanks again for watching my beer reviews, and I will catch you soon with another one. Cheers.